Well, for more on this, let's cross now to Moscow to speak with Felix Light, journalist at the Moscow Times. Felix, Russian-led troops are now on their way to Kazakhstan. What exactly is in this for Moscow?
Well, I think most of all, one has to remember that Moscow reacts extremely badly to any sort of signs of unrest, any signs of revolution in what it considers its backyard, its sort of near abroad. And Kazakhstan very much falls under that. You'll remember that a year and a half ago, when sort of unrest broke out in Belarus, Russia was very, very active in supporting the regime, the government of Alexander Lukashenko there, and in many ways played a crucial role in ensuring that his regime didn't, in fact, fall. In Kazakhstan, what we see in many ways is that it's perhaps a similar situation, or at least a comparable situation to what we saw in Belarus. But I would note that the protests, the disturbances in Kazakhstan are substantially more violent. We've seen substantially more people killed, according to the Kazakh government. And so we see a much more tense situation. And I think certainly from the Russian perspective, they see this as a very, very clear threat to sort of regional stability. And so peacekeepers, as it's been said, will be moved in, and this sort of is very much sort of coincides with Russian, I think, security objectives to try and maintain stability as much as possible. There's a very, very, very strong fear in the Kremlin, I think, of any kind of social unrest. What we saw yesterday was just such an extraordinary outbreak of an economic protest moving very swiftly towards a sort of almost a political revolution. And so I think there's a very, very strong emphasis on stopping anything like that very much in the bud.
And Felix, how is the current situation in Kazakhstan being reported in the Russian media at the moment?
Well, I think part of it was simply a testimony as to how quickly events in Kazakhstan really moved yesterday. We saw a few days of protests that had been to some extent covered in the Russian media really exploding into something like a sort of nationwide insurrection yesterday. And I think in many ways Russian media was almost playing catch up here. For much of yesterday, we were seeing sort of emphasis on how sort of the economic demands, the sort of demands again, the denunciations of a fuel price rise were legitimate. But when we saw this moving towards a sort of a full-scale insurrection yesterday, we started getting the old hits of Russian sort of propaganda, which is that this is a sort of a color revolution stoked by the West, and that Russia needs to sort of stop this before it gets out of hand. So I think that's very much the line that we've fallen on now, and of course that very much aligns with what's happening now with the moving in of Russian troops and the sort of the stabilizing of the situation.
Felix Light in Moscow, thank you very much.